Welcome, everyone. We are just going to give it another couple of minutes before we begin to let people get in the room, get settled, and I will be right back with you. Okay, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Whoops. On, off, on, off. My video's on, my video's off. I am so excited to see the people who are popping in today. And we are getting more people coming in today. So yes, we're going to hear that little doorbell happening. I imagine for another few minutes as people get in here and as we get started. So maybe as we're letting a few more people come in, yeah, just make sure you have water, you're comfy, or whatever you want to drink. It doesn't have to be water. You are comfy, maybe have a journal or something to take notes in, because I think we're going to cover some fun things today. And yeah, give it one more minute before we get started. I am so glad that you showed up and that you're here. And I can't tell you how excited I am. Oh my God, it's really, really fun. Welcome. Okay, and can everybody hear me okay? Maybe a thumbs up in the, or a one in the chat. Make sure I'm coming through loud and clear. Yay, okay, good. Thanks, Dan. Okay, so wow, welcome to the very first episode of The Thriving Creative, my new weekly podcast that is all about art, money, and pleasure, and the convergence of these three very important keys to what I consider a very juicy, abundant, creative life. So I am your host. For those of you who don't know me yet, I'm Gabrielle Senza. I'm an artist, an activist, an empowerment coach. I have been in the art world for over 30 years, and I've seen it from all sides. As an artist, as a gallerist, as an art critic, as a curator, um, and all the other things. Similar with performance as well, although I have not really directed theatrical shows or anything like that, but more performance art stuff. I am big on creative engagement for social change, especially, and a lot of my work has focused around that. And you can certainly find more information about me on the internet, and probably in the show notes, maybe when I get to that part. Anyway, I am super thrilled to be here today and to be launching this podcast with my beloved guests here today. I see some names of people I have not seen in decades. Kaylee Ray, I'm looking at you. And there are a few other names, but since I don't see their faces, I'm not quite sure who they are, but I have a suspicion. So great to see you. So thank you for being here. This episode actually has a title and a theme, whereas my former podcast that I used to run, my show on YouTube, which was called Thriving Live. This one has a title and a topic, a theme, and it is, as you may well know already, creative flow finding the balance between making art and making money. So, what I would love to know before we get started is who in here, just pop a one in the chat, who in here identifies as a creative person who has ever made something creative, maybe not as much as you've wanted to, or in the ways you've wanted to, but you are a creative person. Yes, I would argue that everyone is a creative person and has the ability to use creativity all the time. And specifically, I'm talking about art. Yay. Okay, great. And that means all the forms of art, music, dance, writing, journalism, theater, on and on and on. So good. All right. I have the creatives in here. Hooray. So let's see. I introduced the topic. I'm looking at my notes here. And so before we jump in, this is what I used to always do on my other show, and I'm finding that I really want to keep it in this show as well. I love to start every event or practice, even going into the studio or even a boring task, with a bit of pleasure. So if you would, with me, take a moment to sit comfortably, get your seat really like grounded. You can have your feet on the ground if you'd like, or if they're cross-legged, however it is. Just feel yourself supported in the seat wherever you are. And I'm just going to invite you to take 3 long, slow, deep breaths. You can do it at your own pace. You don't have to follow my pace. And just notice yourself as you do so, allowing yourself to relax into the seat and allow yourself to feel heavier into the support you are being given right now by the furniture you're on or by just being in the space with other creatives today, which was the whole point of doing this. Yay. Okay. I need to get myself grounded a little bit and I invite you to do the same. So 3 long, slow, deep breaths. You can do it with your eyes open or closed, up to you. Allowing yourself to relax a little more. Mm. Mm. So, what do you notice? If you want to participate and engage, I'd love to see in the chat. What do you notice now? How are you feeling? What's different now than before we began? The reason I like to do this is because it helps us experience what comes next with greater peace and awareness and groundedness, like presence. Really, it's about being able to be present. Like for me, that just allowed me to let go of all the other things I was doing before this moment, before we got here. So thank you. Thank you for participating in that with me. I feel better. I hope you feel better. And all right, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. All right, here we go. So I'm curious, how many people here have ever felt conflicted about creating their art and managing their finances? Have you ever had too much of both or one or the other that's impacted the other? So you can pop it in the chat if you want to. You can just mull over it in your mind if you'd prefer. Yes, I'm getting some yeses. I have definitely had not too much of both. Usually too little of the money. Same here, often the case. Uh, yeah, and why? Being told artists don't make money, which is so not true, right? It's not true. It's as a general swath of the whole world and artists and creatives, which I guess is often the case with generalizations, right? So, um, I keep looking out my window because it's really beautiful. I have the most beautiful sky and tree in front of me. It's just really beautiful. So just had to share that with you. Okay, so why are we talking about creative flow and why specifically around art and money? Well, it is pretty clearly uh, a common conundrum that artists are working with. For myself, I've often either found myself so much in the creative zone that I completely ignore everything else that is going on in the world. I had a dear painter friend whose adult daughter, told me um, that she used to burn the food on the stove all the time. Her mother, my artist friend, used to burn the food on the stove all the time because she was so engaged in her work. I think I could admit that I'm guilty of that too. I'm pretty sure I've burned some things on the stove while I've been in the middle of painting or creating something. So yeah, it's possible, right? Things happen. And I found for myself that it can be really challenging to like really step away from that creative space. Do you know? All right, who here has ever been in that space where you are creating? It can be writing or dancing or scripting or painting or whatever it is. Just pop a 5 in there. Put a 5 in the thing. If you've ever felt yourself in that creative flow where time just disappears, the hours melt away, and you are like so on this magic carpet ride where it's like things are just happening, things are just flowing, and you are creating, and the ideas are coming to you, and you're just making it. And then 5 hours later, you might be like, oh my God, I missed the bus, or, or whatever it is, like something jolts you back out of that creative flow and reminds you like, oh yeah, there are other responsibilities to deal with in the world. Boy, do I dislike that. That's really not fun. How about for you? Was it fun? I don't think so. Um, then there's the other piece, right? Like the financial stress. If I'm putting all this time into my creative projects and not enough time into making sure that I'm generating income, in any of the ways I've done that, it could be freelancing, part-time work, it could be um, grant writing, all these things, right? So this has happened so many times. Then eventually, like whatever money I had earned or brought in or was granted or whatever, it eventually dwindles down to like just barely anything in the tank. And meanwhile, I'm still like going in the create mode. But the stress starts coming in, and then it starts like interfering with the pleasure aspect of the creation. And then my heart, like my chest contracts and stuff like that. So I'm curious, like what happens to you? What physical, how do you experience the drought of financial security or financial okayness even? Like you can put that in there if you want in the chat, or you could unmute and tell me. Ooh, insomnia. Yeah, yeah, keeping you up at night. I can so relate to that. Yeah, I get shaky. I get grumpy. I think I get more difficult to be with when I start feeling that yeah, distraction and swirl. Yeah, when I start feeling that anxiety of like, oh my God, there's not enough money in there and I don't know what to do and all this stuff. So yeah, I'm super familiar with that. And I know I'm not alone in that, clearly. So that's why we're here, right? Yay! I'm so excited. So the need for balance, why the need for balance? And what does the balance look like? So I'll share what balance looks like for me, and I invite you to do the same. Okay. So let's take a moment to just think about, what does balance between making art and making money look like? For me, what that means is dividing up my day, for example, into ways that allow for full concentration and total commitment to the creative work that I'm doing. And then a separate portion of the day, so that they don't try to compete with each other, a separate portion of the day dedicated to the communications, the administration stuff, or the work, going to my part-time job or whatever it is I'm doing to supplement my income. Um, and allowing those to be two separate parts of the day. I've tried other things like a day on and a day off and a day on and day off, but that doesn't always work out for me. But I'm curious, like, what have you tried, or have you tried anything to create balance? And like I said, you can come off mute if you'd like. Maybe raise your hand digitally, since I can't see any faces. Um, yeah. Mm. Barbara Ann says co-working can help. Yes, we have discovered that, haven't we? Um, mm, yeah, yeah. So I'm going to get to that too. Talking to people who have bigger visions than me. Oh, that is such a good one, right? Like that. Mm, that can feel really good and exciting to have people like excited about what you're working on, and to help you envision it even as big as you want to make it, or as rich as you want to make it. Sometimes we don't need it to go bigger. We just want it to be as fully formed as our idea had originally had it. Yeah, I love that. That's a beautiful experience to have. So, um, so the need for balance is clearly like when you have both working, um, then you can thrive, right? So it's like if you're riding a bicycle with one flat tire and one good tire, um, that you're just bound to have a bumpy ride, right? It's just going to be a bumpy, unpleasant, maybe not even really get anywhere. And then once you have them both filled and perfectly set to go, or adequately set to go, then you can really fly. You can just move along. And in my experience, then it feels like all the doors are opening and everything is flowing. Like even the boring stuff is flowing. Like, oh, that stuff didn't take nearly as long as it usually does, or that conversation went so much better than it did, than I expected it to. And I for me, I get there often with like either mindset or creating these spaces of time like I'm talking about. So I feel I feel fulfilled in all the areas. Like I feel okay financially, I feel okay creatively, and there's space for both. Um, and let's see, Barbara Ann wrote, remembering that I don't have to do it all on my own and that I don't have to have all the answers. I can know my project, yet I can't see my project. So other trusted eyes are important. Yeah, yeah. It's so fun when other people have like other ideas to contribute towards something, and can bring something forward like, oh, I had no idea that I could do that. Um, this past year has been full of that. It's been so full of that for me. Uh, and largely with my friend Barbara Ann and with Dan, who are both on this call. So I'm super excited to hear whatever other things you might have to say about that. Oh, Kaylee Ray, right. You wrote having someone to be accountable to, a fellow artist. Ta-da! Yes, we love that. Um, okay, so I'm looking at my notes again. Um, mm, mm, mm. Okay. So we're talking about the art money balance, what that can look like. Um, I'd love to hear what that might look like for others if you want to put it in there in the chat. I've definitely had the experience where um like too much time has to be put into the administrative work or the income producing work. And if that income producing work is not stuff I love doing, then I just feel pretty wretched actually. Like I feel like grumpy and ineffective and I procrastinate a lot. Um, and yeah, if anyone wants to speak and get off mute, just raise your hand so then I can do that. Or you might even be able to unmute yourself. Um, anyway, non-art things for money, it makes it harder for me to do creative work. Yeah, when you have to do non-art things to make for money, yeah, it's kind of hard to shift between one thing and another because they are really very different parts of the brain, right? Um, so shifting gears. Oh, I like that shifting gears analogy because the the clutching aspect of shifting in the manual cars anyway allows for a break. And so sometimes, so I have this practice that I started recently, which I call maker time, and it's based on I think Alex Hormozzi's idea of maker time versus admin time or something. I can't remember now. Barbara might remember. Um, but the point is that there are absolutely no distractions. Nobody can come in and interrupt you. Nobody can schedule appointments for you. Nobody can serve, even offer you coffee or something like that. Like you're just like, you have your blinders on and you're working on the thing, whatever the thing is. Um, and it could be, writing emails, or it could be getting your tax papers done or something not so fun. But ideally, it's more of your creative, the stuff that makes you you, and for you to have those creative visions that you have for your work, right? Like, yeah, I don't know. Can anyone else work with distractions in here creatively? Yeah, Dan says it takes a long time to switch gears. It's like I get stuck in neutral and my wheels just spin. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I pretend that I can multitask. Yes, I know, right? I know a few people that do that too. Um, the thing that I found recently is either a dance break, a 5-minute dance break. And recently it's been Rusted Roots Send Me on My Way song, which is just so joyful and so amazing and just so good to dance so hard to that song. And then, and then, if it's not that, I might go for a walk. Today I went for a walk by the river and talked to fly and grasshoppers and other flying things like a raptor that was soaring overhead. It was amazing. And then I could come back and just be like, okay, now it's time to just focus on this next thing and the next thing. And that was great because if I had jumped right into the next thing, there would have been like so much discord in there for that whole time that I was working on it, because it was like, maybe I should do this, or maybe I should go there, maybe, um, but in this case, it was like, I'm doing this thing, I'm stopping this thing, I'm going to go take a walk or dance. Um, and then I'm going to come back and do this other thing. So that seems to be working pretty well for me. I'd love to know if you have any special strategies that you have. Sometimes it's a cup of tea. Sometimes it's some other pleasure practice or some downward dogs or, um, sun salutations or whatever it is. I'm curious to know what you like your breaks to be, or if you even have had them. If you've worked out a strategy, like a type of break you like to take. And if you do, pop it in the chat because I am a curious person. I love to know what other people do. Let's see. So I'll look for the next part of my notes here. Okay. Laura B says, I eat, which is not something that is very healthy for me. Yeah, I suppose depends on what the thing is you're eating, right? When I'm grumpy, I definitely want to have the stuff that's not good for me. Um, yeah, I can relate to that. So what is one you might want to do instead? What's what should we call them? I guess we could just call them breaks. A clutching break, a transition break. Transition break. I've learned to power nap. Mm, yeah, you're really good at power naps, Dan. And a dance break is sometimes better, for sure. Depends on the thing. Movement of my whole body is better than scrolling. Oh my gosh, yeah. So easy to get caught up in the scrolling. I put a 15-minute limit on my scrolling. I'm on my scrolling. Well, it does limit my scrolling, but it's on the different apps, the social media apps, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Because once I go in there, it's almost impossible for me to go out sometimes. So that's why I had to limit it. Okay, so I wanted to talk about, well, we did talk about some time management ideas, some of these ways of going from one activity to another, um, ways of creating really, I love this maker time idea. This is so important for those of us who are creatives, right? Like being creative and doing that kind of work takes a whole different part of our brain and our process. So if we are also trying to multitask with like basic communications with people we love, or firing off an email that has to do with some other not art related thing, it can be really too distracting. It's too hard to come back to the creative thing. So then we're not doing our best work, right? Um, yeah, I know that I'm not. Like it's really been helpful to segregate those times pieces, those activities. Um, so yeah, one of the things that I've done is the 3-hour maker time in the morning. Anyone who's ever known me for, or who's known me for a while, would know that I was not an early bird ever in my life, actually. Always a night owl and would love to stay up until 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And that's when I loved doing my creative work the most, because it was like there are no interruptions, no one's, going to come in and take over my day or whatever. So that has always been my preferred time. However, um, I decided to try this early bird maker time, the 3 to, no, not 3 a.m., the 6 to 9 a.m. slot. And like I said before, that's been working pretty well, and it's been pretty remarkable. It's like, wow, I can get a lot of things done during that time. Um, what, what, oh, I forgot my thought there. Um, sorry about that. The the other piece that's been really crucial and wonderful is this co-working time that I set up, I guess at the beginning of the year, I might say, maybe towards the end of last year. I can't remember now. But the thing is, we get together from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and we just hop on a Zoom like this, and we spend the first 15 minutes, everyone kind of briefly checking in and stating what it is they hope to get done during the 2 hours, during that hour and a half, essentially, the power hours. And then we come back on in the last 15 minutes and we state what it is we were able to accomplish. Um, it's totally fine if we don't do the thing we thought we were going to do. And we try to always remain very like positive. Um, we celebrate the small wins and the big wins. And we don't live in the gap, just paying attention to all the things we didn't do, which I have been guilty of for most of my life. Like, oh, but I didn't do this. Oh, I didn't do that. Or I could have done that better. Yeah, sure, I could have. And I still am guilty of doing this, falling into this gap thing. But it's so much cooler to just sort of think about like, oh, what are the things I did get done? What pieces did I move forward, even just a little bit? So yeah, what are some of those voices you hear in your head that like are critical of how you are performing or how productive you're being? I'd love to hear that too. If you want to pop it in the chat, that would be cool. Yeah, mine is a perfectionist and just can be pretty incessant in terms of like what she has to say, in terms of how, just being critical of like all the things I didn't do. So, yeah, the morning power hours have been so key. Oh, and this is the other thing. I started them because I noticed that even though I had blocked out these sections in my calendar to be for creative time, maker time, all this kind of thing by myself and accountable only to myself, I wouldn't always show up for them. Like every single day, I had these times blocked out to do creative work. And I noticed that pretty much every single day, I didn't go and do the creative work. I wasn't showing up to do it. And I wasn't doing the other work either that I wanted to do. Then I was just trying to jumble it all together. And often it was that kind of stuff that would lead into the late night stuff. And then I wouldn't have the clarity in my brain and the energy to do it and focus on it. So I thought, well, what would happen if I actually just open a Zoom room and I have a few friends and we hold each other accountable? And that is what you were saying earlier, Kaylee. Yeah, having someone to be accountable to, a fellow artist. So that's exactly what we did. And that's exactly what has worked. And for me, anyway, and it's just such a game changer for me. I'm so grateful that we did it. So I have Barbara Ann Michaels and Dan Ruderman and myself so far in our little Create Collective, our Zoom Power Hours. And we are opening it up today actually is the day that I am opening up the Create Collective, which I'll tell you about in a little bit. Let's see. Back to my notes here. Yeah, if anyone else has some other time management things that you've tried, uh, pop it in there. Or if you want to come off mute and tell me, give an example of something you've tried that worked or something you tried that didn't work. Totally excited to hear about all those things. Okay, the next thing I wanted to move into is basically like other ways to monetize our work, to support ourselves financially. And this is something I talk a lot about, like with my clients and in different spaces. So I have a lot to say about it, but I won't go on and on about it today. All right, Barbara says, practicing keeping my promises to myself by keeping my promises to others is good. Yeah, that's so true. You're really good at that too. You're really great at that. So, a couple of things I wanted to say about the making money part with our art uh, is that, well, okay, so what's going on in my brain is like, we want to talk about this. And then the other parts are like, but we want to talk about this. And so there's a little thing going on in my brain with the two different factions, really trying to argue about what things we're going to talk about. So here we go. Okay, one thing that I'll start with is what I've enjoyed exploring is finding different ways to make my work available to more people. And one of the ways that this started happening, or why it started happening, was because way back, I guess it was in the 90s, late 90s, I had my work in galleries in different parts of the country. And we were doing really well with them. And this one particular gallery up near Detroit was selling a lot of my industrial landscapes. Actually, here's one here. And we did really, really well by each other. So at a certain point, he's like, "Hey, could you make more with blue skies?" Because I might have made a couple and they sold, and the others sold too. So I was a little confused by this request. And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, I just think they'll go faster," or something like that. And so that that didn't feel good to me. Like it's it wasn't really what I was doing. Like it was an anomaly that I had some that had blue skies instead of acid yellow skies or stormy gray skies or moody orange skies or whatever it was. And I did try to sort of go with it and see if I could make that work, but it didn't. I felt crappy. The work wasn't great and it didn't sell. It didn't sell the same way that, the other pieces had sold that I was excited to make. So, so then I started looking for like, okay, there are, I need other ways of making money. So I've written art reviews for shows, and I've created prints. I've really loved getting into making prints and limited editions and so on, because that allows more people to experience and have the work at a more affordable price. So that was really wonderful. Um, what other things? Teaching, of course, I've done. Workshops are always fun for me. And and then I also was working for a while. It was full time. This was a bunch of years ago. I was working full time for the Performance Arts Center here, managing the box office, which was a really fun job. And I was able to see a lot of my former collectors from when I had my gallery in Housatonic. And and then I stopped I stopped working that job for a while because I went to grad school in Berlin and focusing on my work. And then with the pandemic and everything, I started feeling like, boy, it would be really great to be around people again. And there's something really exciting about having a team, like other people around. So I asked if they needed some part-time help, and they did. And so I've been working there part-time, every once in a while, maybe once a week or so for the shows. And there again, I get to see the collectors. So it allows me like a periodic touch point with the people who have purchased my work before, who are really excited to be, up to date with whatever I'm working on. And likewise, vice versa. Like I love knowing what's going on for people because I love people. And so it's just been really a fun way to supplement my income. And more than that, it's about like continuing those relationships, because we get to see each other more frequently. And then the other piece is being in creative spaces and collaborating with other artists has been a lot of fun. And we've been making that happen in our group and through other groups. And what I love about that is the time spent there isn't directly about making money, but it is about making connections and getting excited and collaborating and supporting each other, like having people that get you, right? Like that just feels so good. Does anyone like it when they find someone who just gets what you're doing? Like you don't have to explain it very much. Yeah, right? Like it's the whole thing. It's just the best feeling. When I was meeting with people like that were doing experiences and socially engaged art projects, um, it they were just like, "Oh, so tell me about what you're working on. What's your project?" Like, I didn't even have to go through the whole thing about like, I work with people and spaces and time, and we do these things and blah, 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 like all these different things. So that's been really exciting to find spaces like that. And it's again through talking with other artists that I've learned about these spaces, like my friend Barbara Ann, who's here. So yeah, we've had great adventures together. And it has to do with being in these spaces with other artists. So that's what I'm excited about. That's another piece. So I'm just letting another friend in who's arriving. Okay, so What else do I have for you? I'm trying to keep us on schedule here, keep myself on schedule here so we can wrap up on time. Uh, let's see. Looking at my notes. Okay. So another thing about achieving balance in terms of art and money is some basic, like some financial planning. For me, that isn't really, hasn't ever really felt really fun. Um, who here loves financial planning? Put a 1 in the chat. uh, so what does that look like? You know, so I started exploring it because I felt like, yeah, right, 0. um, you do? You really love it, Barbara? That's awesome. Jonathan doesn't love it. No, I don't love it either, but I do love learning about new ways of managing money and using money and making money make money. That's really fun. I love that. And I have found some ways to do that. And then also like making money online, like more passively, not like always literally being there to sell the work, right? So these are ways that I've done that. Some are print on demand, some are um, like courses and books and stuff like that. So this has been fun to explore. Um, and actually, I did write a book called The Artist's Guide to Financial Freedom. And that was really fun to research and put together. So I learned a bunch of things in there and have put them into practice, and I think it's pretty helpful. Um, I would love to, let's see what else we have here. Okay, so I think now, does anyone have anything you'd want to share right now? Like a big challenge you have or have had with balancing art and money or anything like that? Because I'd be happy to engage about it. You can either come off mute or you could pop it in the chat, or you could put a 1 in the chat for like, keep going. Yeah. Okay. Barbara Ann says you'd like, I could use more skills around the financial planning stuff. Yep. And conflicting messages about where to make money. Because there are so many places to make money, actually, right? So for me, that's been a hard thing is like, how do I choose which thing? My art should make money. Something else should make money and support my art. Oh, is that yeah, both neither. Which is it? And Kaylee Ray says, I haven't started selling my work yet. Right on. So these are, yeah, this is what's happening. So good news is it's totally possible, like any of these things. I'd be like, do I keep creating? Okay, so I want to address that. Thank you for bringing that up, Kaylee, because this is something, oh, I meant to put this in. So this is perfect that you mentioned it. I've had so many people tell me when I'm introducing them as an artist to a friend of mine. So a friend of mine that's an artist, and I'm introducing them to another friend of mine who's an artist. And I say, Kaylee Ray, I'd like you to meet my friend Barbara Ann. And Kaylee might say, like to me privately or whatever, she's like, well, I don't really know if I can call myself an artist because I'm not, supporting myself as with my art yet. And my answer is always, you are an artist. If you've ever thought of yourself as an artist, if you've ever made some art, you are an artist. It doesn't matter whether you're selling it or not. It does not matter. Yes, thank you. You are an artist, everyone here. So the thing is, if you're creating art, if you're writing, if you're journaling, if you're posting posts every single day or blogging, or not even every single day, whenever, I mean, I believe being an artist is really a state of mind. It's like how you see things, how you perceive the world. What is it that it comes in through your eyes or through your ears or through your nose or through your mouth? or through your touch, and how is that being experienced in you, and what does it inspire you to do, right? Maybe it's something you want to write, maybe it's a social media post, maybe it's you want to capture it on your phone or whatever it is. There's so many different ways. Now, whether we do something with it, that's like that's like this capitalistic production. You have to make something and make yourself, make things make money and make you become worthwhile because of what you're making money on and how much money you're making. I really do not subscribe to that at all. I think every human is super valuable and that their opinions and their creativity and their perspectives are so valuable and they contribute so much. So I love taking in what people are sharing in the world. And actually that's the kind of stuff I'm looking at when I get sucked into scrolling. It's like discovering new artists and discovering what they're doing and where they're performing and all these kinds of things. So Kaylee, did you want to say something? Did you want to come off mute and say something?
Thank you. I love what you just said. Yeah.
What did you love about it?
Just, that it's not about um, consumerism, capitalism, right? That just being an artist. But then it's like I'm running out of room from all my things. Yeah, I was looking around my apartment and all my things that I haven't, yeah, sold yet. So it's like, okay,
I can
yeah,
relate. I can
yeah,
relate to that.
mm,
The important thing is like, how do you feel when you're making your art?
that's it. It's
I,
process. It's the process, right? It's so therapeutic. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it gives so much. And then I'm sure that when people see it on those rare occasions when they might be in your studio or your apartment, that it gives them something too. That's what we do when we share our work. It doesn't have to make money to make an impact,
Mm,
So thank you for bringing that up because that is a thing that I've often thought about. People saying like, "Oh, but I'm not an artist because I'm not making money from it." It's like you are an artist if you're making art, period. So that's really cool. So I want to, okay, we're at 2:48. All right, I'm going to jump into the Create Collective and tell you about this amazing thing that I've been dreaming of doing for decades, actually, decades. And it's finally open, it's finally here today. It is the Create Collective. And for me, what the Create Collective stands for is community. The create part is community, resource, empowerment, art, transformation, and education. And it's a space where we come together, members come together. It's to help creatives thrive in their work and in their lives in all the areas, art, money, and pleasure. And we it's a really supportive community. So, like I said before, we have our morning power hours. So we meet weekday mornings. We have a weekly coaching call, which happens on Thursday afternoons. So if you have a thing that you want some feedback on, um, I'm here for it. That's what I do. I love helping people see new perspectives and transforming maybe limiting beliefs and old thought patterns that aren't serving you or your art or your money. So there's that, the weekly thing. And we have a monthly creative gathering also online, which will vary. It's going to be, sometimes I might have a guest and they might be presenting something that they want to share that I think the community would love to learn about or experience or try out. Um, and and then we'll also have like quarterly salons. So we get together and we get to present what we've been working on if we want to and receive feedback and support that way. So what else is in there? let's see, it's a great space for connecting with other creatives, like I was talking about earlier. That's such a bonus for such a win for like how we feel in the world as an artist, right? If we're just isolated and we just don't get to talk to other creative people, it can be really confusing and daunting. And for me, uh, yeah, a downer kind of like, it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then you run into an artist and you're like, oh, I so know what I'm doing. This is so exciting. Let's see. We have also members get access to exclusive resources like the books and the courses. I was mentioning some recordings would be coming out, and the support that you need to succeed, like with the coaching and things like that. So the doors are open until September 10th. They just opened. I'm very excited. And we're doing beta pricing right now. And I'm going to pop the link to the page into the chat here. Let's see. Copy, paste. So, okay, that should be it. Studio Lab 11, it's for the Create Collective. And there's a whole lot of information in there. And I had such a great time putting it together. Because, like I said, I've been wanting to create this community for quite some time. So I just, oh my gosh, I love it. I'm so excited. What else did I want to mention? Thank you for the congratulations. And Dan and Barbara Ann are already honorary members. They've been with me from the beginning of the trial and the working it out and stuff like that. So I'm super grateful to them, and they're super supportive people to be with in community. So fun, so funny, and so supportive. Just beautiful human beings. So grateful to them. And let's see. Oh, yes. So the other thing is the other advantage to signing up and becoming a member before September 10th is that on September 12th, I am running a workshop called, it's in that page, um, 3 fun ways ChatGPT can help fuel your creative passion or something like that. So I'll be talking about 3 of the ways that I love using ChatGPT for helping structure things like grant proposals, um, social media ideas, and descriptions for different events and things like that that can help you generate income. And so that's what so the advantage there is that if you're in before the 10th, then you get to be on the call live like this and get questions answered and interact with the material and stuff like that. Um, Otherwise, it will be living in the community as another resource. So with each thing that I'm able to create or offer or record, then we'll put those into the community. So there will be always new things. So let's see. Um, okay, so Dan says, "Ah, you're grateful to me too. Thank you. And you have to leave early now. But yes, see everyone next week." So the thing is, if you join now, you get to be part of our morning power hours and the Thursday afternoon coaching sessions. And then, like I said, you'll be able to participate in the 3 fun things ChatGPT can do to help fund your career and your passions. So that's what I have, and that's what I'm really so thrilled to share with you. So, are there any questions? I would love to take any questions or comments or ideas or whatever. Let me know if there's anything that's been up for you recently around art and money that you'd love to tackle here in the last couple of minutes. And if not, that's okay too. All right. We have some people are popping off now because it's time to go. Yeah, Laura had to go. All right. I am so happy that you all came. I don't know where to begin. It is so overwhelming. Yes, yes, yes. Well, I would love for you to come into our community and be a part of that. It would be such a delight to have you, Kaylee. I've known you as a creative person and an amazing human, so it would be delightful, and we'd be able to make it less overwhelming and more fun. How can one get the most out of the Create Collective? Oh, yeah. I think you get out what you put in that in the sense that be there, show up for the calls. So you have the accountability partners by being in the morning power hours and in the other sessions and and receive the support, like I did I don't know about everyone else on the call, but my to-do lists are usually so big that I couldn't possibly do them in a day, right? Or even a month, really, often. And so it's been really helpful for me to receive support and ideas from other people in the community too. Like, hey, I tried this. You might want to give it a shot. And then I might try it. And that might be just exactly the thing that I needed to change the way I was doing something. So so that's a way. So I was in a group, I guess it was last year, called Wealth and Impact, I think. Um, and one of the things they said is be a bucket filler. And I loved that because that's how I like to show up. It's like being really supportive for other people and um holding space for other people to be with whatever is going on for them and whatever the thing is that they're struggling with. And then if they want some input or some support or feedback or even an emotional release process or something, some of these magical tricks that I have, they're not tricks, they're beautiful techniques that are proven to work over and over again somehow mysteriously. Anyway, sometimes I'll take someone through a process like that. And actually there are a few people on the call that have been in those situations and benefited, I believe, from the transformations that happen when we um, have we do a process like that, the emotional freedom release piece. So that often will come up in our sessions sometimes. Um, yeah. Are there any other questions? Do you have the links? Do you want any more of anything from me that I can provide right now on this call in the next 2 minutes? All right. Ah, yeah. All right. So people are popping off. It's 2:59 and our time is almost up for today. But let's stay in touch. You know how to do that. And join, join the collective. Try it out. You can quit anytime. It's really, really lovely. I really hope you'll join us. Thank you, Barbara Ann. Happy you're living your dream while helping others live theirs. Yeah, I love that. Okay, my friends, I thank you so much. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I hope to hear from you soon and see you in the collective. Bye.